Maralen Fey Ascendant is a lot of things to a lot of people. She's that scary card from the original Lorwyn block that made everyone tutor instead of drawing. She's an excuse to play every single shapeshifter in the current limited format. But to me, she's something much more special. A food chain outlet. Hi everybody, my name is MTG Ratgirl, and today we are going to be talking about Maralen Fey Ascendant in competitive or cEDH. So here's a bit of backstory on my current cEDH game. Short story short is I don't have much of it, but I do have a really nice copy of Food Chain and nowhere to put it. I used to have a Gruul Italy deck, but that has been performing less and less good in the current meta, and Food Chain has no place in my Tyam deck whatsoever, so what am I gonna do with this thing, huh? It's gorgeous. So I've been looking for weird, janky brews other than Italy and Atraxa, the long-lasting decks in the format, where I can put my beautiful VHS Food Chain. Then, in my Lorwyn pre-release, we found this. Maralen Fey Ascendant is a 5-mana elf fairy noble with flying. She's got a decent body at 4 power 5 toughness. She has kind of a more repeatable but less immediately impactful version of Italy's effect. And the other thing that she has as a leg up on Italy are the colors blue and black, which are the best colors in the format. If you've ever been blown out on turn 1 or 2 by a Tainted Pact Thassa's Oracle, you'll know exactly what I mean. So Maralen has a bunch of other ways to make infinite mana without burning your life away with a Traitorous Ogre or something like that. From my fishbowling and experimenting with her, she plays a lot like the other two powerful Simic decks in the format right now, which are Thrasios and Rograk, and Kinnan. We have all of our mana artifacts here. You might notice that we have Basalt Monolith in here. We are actually playing Kinnan in the 99 because he's that good. Like every deck that is in Simic and wants to generate infinite mana, we want to be finding Gaia's Cradle really fast, so that's why we have Expedition Map. We have a few other fun ways to play Gaia's Cradle because for a blue and black deck, we are running a lot of green. Maybe this is just because I brewed this version. You can see the link to it up there. Go check it out if you want to follow along. The thing that Thrasios decks and Kinnan decks are usually missing is that consistency to get every single piece that you need when you need it. I like playing Thrasios Rograk, but there are tomes worth of tutor chains that you have to memorize to be like, if I need an artifact, I'm in blue, so I have to either find this card that tutors an artifact or use a creature tutor to find this creature that can find an artifact or something like that. Maralen doesn't have that problem because we can run every single black tutor in the game. We have Wishclaw Talisman right here. We are on Ad Nauseam and Necropotence, of course, because black just has the best card advantage in the game. We are on Machine God's Effigy because we get access to Devoted Druid, who, like a lot of good cards in this game, is an elf. There are also some really good things we get access to just for wanting fairies and elves to enter the battlefield and steal cards from other people. So many good cards in cEDH just happen to be elves or fairies. Fairy Mastermind, you might have already noticed, is here because he gets us card advantage, but he is also a win condition. That's why he's kind of faded out like this. He is in another custom category that is just ways we can win with infinite mana. So I'm actually going to take you down to the very bottom first. These are the easiest ways for Maralen to win. Because we have so many black tutors that can tutor anything we want, and we also are chock full of a bunch of green tutors, we can get either Food Chain and one of the creatures that we can cast from exile to go with it. If you have played the format a lot, you'll know this, but I'm assuming a lot of beginners are watching my channel. If you tutor Food Chain onto the battlefield and then get one of these two creatures, let's say exile Mist Hollow Griffin to Food Chain to make 5 blue mana, that puts you up 1 blue mana every time through the cycle. You can do that a million times, and then keep exiling Mist Hollow Griffin using your stocked up blue mana to generate black mana and then green mana, and then start exiling Maralen until her Enter the Battlefield effect exiles all of your opponent's libraries, leaving yours intact. Then you pass the turn. Everybody tries to draw from an empty deck, and you win. Ba-ba! I don't know if we have to run both of these, but getting the ability to just luck into one of them in an opening hand is good enough. And also, Mist Hollow Griffin is probably the one I would keep over Eternal Scourge, funnily enough. Even though Eternal Scourge is obviously much easier to cast, we are running the blue counterspells that want us to exile cards from our hand, which means that we don't have to generate the mana to cast Mist Hollow Griffin in the first place. We can just use Food Chain to exile a 3-drop and then get the loop going, which is a lot easier to do. Fairy Mastermind is here because he is a fairy who is good in our deck. Generate card advantage in the first place. Kind of like another copy of Mystic Remora or Rhystic Study, if you squint your eyes and believe. But the real sauce here is this activated ability, which can make everybody draw out their decks, except for you because you have Endurance. So once you have drawn Endurance into your hand, you can evoke it by exiling another green card, get your graveyard back into your library, and make sure that your opponents draw out before you do, and then you can pass the turn and win the same way we did with Food Chain. This is really a Simic deck that is kind of splashing black for all of the best card draw in tutors. So Finale of Devastation, on top of being a creature tutor, is probably my actual favorite way to win the game. It tutors a creature right onto the battlefield from either your library or your graveyard, which is important, and we'll go over that in a second. Once you have generated enough mana, if you have more creatures than your opponents do, you can just give everything haste and an incredible amount of power and attack and win the good old-fashioned way, swinging at your opponents. I don't know, something in me just finds a lot of satisfaction by winning a competitive game this way, because I'm a green player at heart and I'm still winning with combat. The more interesting way to win with this deck is with Cloud of Fairies. This is probably one of the best creatures to tutor, especially in this deck. The first time you have a creature tutor, I would get Cloud of Fairies every single time. We are not a turbo deck, but you can definitely luck into some turbo draws. All of this is to say that Simic mid-range decks are trying to outpace everybody with like static mana pieces that will stick around. Cloud of Fairies and our tutors that let us find Gaia's Cradle can let Cloud of Fairies untap much more mana than it costs the first time we cast it, which is always good enough on its own. But then, if you find Displacer Kitten, you can exile Cloud of Fairies with Displacer Kitten and untap all of your lands, generate infinite mana that way to win, like we saw below. Or with Cloudstone Curio, if you find another creature in your hand, which should be easy, we have 25 of them, cast something cheaper than Cloud of Fairies, like any of the good mana dorks that we want to see anyway. And as long as Maralen is out while you are casting Cloud of Fairies, bouncing a cheaper creature, casting that to bounce Cloud of Fairies, then Maralen will exile everybody's decks without having to do the obvious Food Chain loop. For our sorceries, this is an overwhelmingly green deck despite having access to black and blue. I just think that it's honestly the best way for Maralen to play, but I know that I'm biased in that regard. I don't think she turbos very well. I think it's much better to play every single one of these creature tutors that puts something directly onto the battlefield so that we can start snowballing faster than everybody else. What I have learned from playing this game as much as I have is that you never actually want to be the first person to go for a win unless you can do it literally on turn one, which is why Rogsai is so dominant. If you're winning on turn 2 with Rogsai, there is a good chance that you're not actually winning. You're just spending everybody's counter spells that they drew up so that someone else can go for a win without the need for all of that protection. So on top of Nature's Rhythm, Green Sun Zenith, which are just fair sorceries that can tutor something directly to the field. We have Neoform and Eldritch Evolution, which sacrifice a cheap mana dork to find realistically Cloud of Fairies or Devoted Druid. And we have all of the cheap black tutors that you would want to see. Diabolic Intent is good because we'll always have a creature to sacrifice. Scheming Symmetry is maybe not good enough to be included here, but like, it's 1 mana and it's so fun. Come on. Like, I love pulling this card out in Commanders so that you can give that person who you can see is like visibly sighing every time somebody takes a game action and just get them back in the game a little bit, which is almost always a good move for you. Nature's Rhythm is especially good in this deck because it's pretty easy to harmonize with Maralen, so you won't have to go digging for another tutor or something. If you cast it once, you should be able to harmonize for 4, which is Maralen's power, and get any creature that you need to close out the game. Mist Hollow Griffin is 4 mana, notably. Pretty cute. Pretty good. For our land base, we don't have anything too interesting or exotic. I play Alchemist's Refuge instead of Emerging Zone. This is a deck that has so many more of these mana dorks that we will probably be able to activate this multiple times if you get really desperate. Emergence Zone is the other one that people would put in this slot, but it sacrifices itself when you activate it, so I just don't like it quite so much. Boseiju is in here as a removal spell, obviously, along with Odawara. The other interesting thing that we can run into is Talon Gates of Madara with Gaia's Cradle. Because we are playing these 2 lands, and we also happen to already want a Cloudstone Curio, because funnily enough, Cloudstone Curio says whenever a non-artifact permanent enters the battlefield. It does not say non-land like a lot of people assume, because that's how so many of these types of effects are formatted recently. This is an older one that just didn't want you to be able to bounce itself. Because of Talon Gate's active ability down here, you don't need extra land drops per turn to keep looping them like that, and you can use this land to phase out everybody's board except yours, in case you need to go for an attack or just interrupt someone else's win. Our instant category here is by far the longest. We have Born Upon a Wind to enable Flash. It's just one of the best cards in the game. You should pretty much always play it in blue. Dark Ritual is mostly here because Necropotence has 3 black pips, and it's really hard for us to cast it. With mana dorks and everything, a lot of them make green. We're pretty good at having artifacts that make any color of mana that we want, but you just want to guarantee it in there. Plus, it's a ritual. I mean, rituals are always good to have in your starting hand. This also gets us to Ad Nauseam really quickly because it itself is an instant. We have the free spells that let us remove something or remove something from the stack. If we have Maralen out, Crop Rotation is our other big guy who can find us Gaia's Cradle or Talon Gates. And then we have a bunch of free counter spells. The exceptions here, Force of Will, like I said, it's just a good free counter spell, but also you can get into situations where you're exiling Mist Hollow Griffin to get your food chain loop started. Flare of Denial, like I said, we have so many creatures that this feels like it's free. Pact of Negation is in here because we are such a mana-focused deck. We have so many ways to just like stumble into infinite mana loops. Honestly, using this before you're going for a win isn't even that big of a deal. There are a bunch of ways we can make it to the mid-game and interrupt someone's win for this and then take a turn off. It's like a desperate move, but it does keep you in the game. I have had to do this in a tournament before. It feels bad, but it didn't kick me out of the game. Like, I was still threatening after paying for it with my Rogthras deck, not with this. I haven't played this in paper. Exceptions that I want to go over are Tainted Pact. It can get you to your combo piece immediately. It can get you to a free counterspell or something immediately to keep you in the game. The funny ones are Muddle the Mixture and Glenalendra's Answer. So in my Simic Rogthras deck that plays Gaia's Cradle, I am playing Squirrel Summoning, I think. It's a 2-mana green spell that makes a squirrel token, and it has Storm, and it's really good to turn on Gaia's Cradle. So Glenalendra's Answer is something that you obviously don't love to see in your starting hand, but I still think that it's worth playing because it can't be countered itself. And not only does it hit counter spells, but it hits every activated ability on the stack. It's like a Mind Break trap, but combined with Stifle, kind of. It makes a bunch of tokens so that we can get our Gaia's Cradle loops going. It just does so many overlapping things that this deck wants to do that I thought it is worth including, even though it's kind of our worst counterspell. And Muddle the Mixture can transmute for any 2-drop in our deck, and a lot of the things that help us win the game are 2-drops. Otherwise, if you're really desperate, you could use it to get Arcane Signet or another Mana Rock, and that is most of our interaction. Oh, the other fun thing that we're doing in this deck is we get to play Gifts Ungiven again. Everybody, give it up for Gifts Ungiven. Thank you. So Gifts Ungiven is obviously a really powerful way to just tutor up your entire combo if you have access to 4 mana at instant speed. Prevent as much interaction as possible. But because an opponent is going to choose 2 of these cards to go into the graveyard, and we don't have a ton of access to reanimation and stuff like that, we want these 3 cards that can either copy or return a permanent that we control from our graveyard to our hand. So if you tutor up 2 of these and then the 2 combo pieces that you're missing with Gifts Ungiven, you are guaranteed to be able to assemble that combo no matter what. Your opponents can use this to, like, make you assemble your combo in the most painful and awkward way possible, but they can't outright stop you from assembling it like this. In the, like, uncategorized enchantments that I have here, we have Growing Rites of Itlimoc because it is Gaia's Cradle number 2. And that's always great. And then Wild Growth is the other way that our lands can go mana positive to make the Cloud of Fairies bouncing loop go infinite. If you draw this up in your starting hand, it still feels pretty good to make your land tap for 2 on your turn 2. And then if you draw into Cloud of Fairies, you are making at least 3 mana every time that you bounce Cloud of Fairies, which is enough to cast itself and a 1-mana mana dork, so that even though you're not going mana positive this way, if you manage to get Maralen out before you do it, you can still use Maralen to exile everybody's libraries and win anyway. Creatures! We have a lot of creatures, folks. 18 creatures that we haven't seen so far, and we want all of these mana dorks. Badgermole Cub and Kinnan both make our mana dorks tap for an extra mana, which can just let us climb to 5 mana as quickly as possible. We don't have to do it exactly on turn 3 as fast as Atali does, but, you know, we still want to get there as fast as we can. We're running Bop, of course, because it produces black mana. Same with Deathrite Shaman, and our land base has a bunch of the fetch lands in it, so using him as a mana dork should be no problem at all. Bloom Tender just got this very adorable new reprint that, of course, I had to include in this Maralen list. Delighted Halfling is here so that Maralen doesn't get countered. She isn't an elf, she's just a format staple. You should include her. I really wish Elvish Spirit Guide's creature type was more relevant to our deck. We're gonna be exiling her a lot, unfortunately, so we won't get to trigger Maralen. Devoted Druid, she's an elf, so she's worth casting to get some extra card advantage, even if you are not going for a combo. And I think that's really the core of why I have enjoyed fishbowling this deck so much. You just want to cast all of these good creatures. You can always argue that you're like, oh, I'm just doing it for the card draw. I just need some cards off of someone's deck. I'm not trying to go for a win. Trust me, dude. Either draw into or tutor for the other half of the combo, and bam, it's already there. Having Maralen on the board is just an easy way to politic yourself out of being super targeted immediately, because of course you're going to be playing against a bunch of other Rhystic studies and things like that, and Maralen is just like a slower and worse version of Rhystic Study. Enduring Vitality makes all of our creatures into mana dorks, and Formidable Speaker. This dude is going to be a staple in the format, I'm positive of it. When you cast him, it's like the same as casting Survival of the Fittest and activating it. That also takes 3 mana. You also get this ability to untap Gaia's Cradle, untap a Mana Vault or a Basalt Monolith or something, so that you can climb up to casting your commander, casting Ad Nauseam, or just finishing out. Kinnan is in here primarily to make our mana dorks a little bit beefier and to let us get some more mana out of them. But this is also another win con with infinite mana. Anybody who has played cEDH has come up against a Kinnan. It's one of the top decks in the format. And the reason for that is Simic is stupidly good at making all of the mana they could possibly want. And once you have that and this guy out, you can just tutor every creature from your library onto the board, and for Kinnan decks as well as for us, that immediately wins the game. High Fae Trickster is in here instead of Valley Floodcaller because it is a fairy. I thought that was just worth playing over Valley Floodcaller. This also lets us cast all spells as though they had flash. If I'm remembering right, Valley Floodcaller has some kind of restriction. Mockingbird and Phantasmal Image are good at every cEDH table. If anyone else is running Mana Dorks, then this is a 1 blue mana copy of whatever mana dork you want. So that can come in handy, especially if you're not first in the turn order. Oppo and Orcish Bowmasters for the interaction. This is just the best thing that black decks have to offer. So even though they don't fit our type line and they don't trigger Maralen, we still want them in here. Seedborn Muse is in here. We just have to include that. It would be cool if she was an elf, but it doesn't really matter. She's still way better than getting 2 cards off of somebody's top deck. And Spellseeker is here to close a lot of tutor chains so that we can use Spellseeker to get a black tutor in case we really need food chain or we really need some like mana artifact. We can use Spellseeker to get a vampiric tutor or something like that and immediately cast it so that we can use her to get anything that we want. Okay, that's creatures out of the way. Now let's talk about this funny little category that I have just titled Complicated Kitten. Displacer Kitten, as we have already talked about, is really good for bouncing Cloud of Fairies over and over again. This is just one example of another way that Displacer Kitten can win you the game. I just chose this one because it's the most complicated Displacer Kitten loop that I came across while I was fishbowling. So Eternal Witness and Lotus Petal are obviously really good to see in any starting hand. And Snap is in here because it is good interaction that also pays for itself and frees us up to cast more interaction on the next opponent's turn. But if you get them all together like this, or Lotus Petal is already in your graveyard, with Displacer Kitten on the field, you can cast Eternal Witness, returning Lotus Petal to your hand, cast Lotus Petal, flickering Eternal Witness, which returns Snap to your hand, use Lotus Petal and tap 2 other lands to pay for Snap, still floating 1 mana of any color you want. When you cast Lotus Petal and Snap, it will bounce the other one from your graveyard to your hand, so that you can keep this loop going as many times as you want, and generate infinite mana to beef up your creatures with Finale of Devastation, or draw your whole deck with Fairy Mastermind, or tutor out all of your creatures with Kinnan. There's a lot of situations in which weird little infinite mana combos like this just crop up. And now we are back to card advantage. Obviously, we want Rhystic and Mystic and Necropotence and Ad Nauseam in here. These are all the reasons to be playing black and blue in the first place. I also have Talion included in here just as a way to grind and get 1 more card advantage piece in here. So this should put a lot more pressure on your board, and also he's just a fairy that is really good in cEDH. Being able to luck into him with a Kinnan flip, cast him early with a bunch of mana dorks is almost always worth doing. I just think of it as expensive Rhystic Study, because putting him on 2, as anyone who has ever come up against it knows, that is essentially a free card draw on everybody's turn. There are just so many things with 2 power or toughness or 2 CMC, and the One Ring is the One Ring. I don't have to tell you why that's good. So I thought it would be kind of fun to fishbowl a few times, draw hands so that you know what starting hands with this deck look like, and you can go and try it yourself. Okay, that's not great. We can imprint one of these 2 for black mana, cast Devoted Druid immediately, and then have blue on our next turn? I don't know. I think this is a 7, and this feels like super greedy, but I think I keep this. So we go to our turn 1 draw, and we get an even better tutor. So that's a no-brainer. We cast Chrome Mox, exiling Scheming Symmetry, get Devoted Druid out, turn 1, and that feels pretty good. Turn 2, we have access to Formidable Speaker mana. I don't know, that feels pretty tempting. Even though I think we should Imperial Seal, but we can't do anything else with our turn except Imperial Seal. If we do that, we could put the counter on Devoted Druid and make 4 mana. Yeah, I think that is the line for sure. So we tap her twice, put a -1 counter on her. We'll just say it's that. Tap these 2 to cast Formidable Speaker. We still have the black from here floating. I'm probably discarding a land here. He gets a creature in our hand, and Imp Seal gets it at the top of the library. Diabolic Tutor gets it into our hand. Okay, so what creature could we possibly want? I'll give you a hint. It's Cloud of Fairies. So we put Cloud of Fairies in our hand for next turn, because we have the Gaia's Cradle here, and then use the Imperial Seal to get Cloudstone Curio. They both have Cloud. That's how you can remember. So let's put Cloud on top. And we're assembling a combo on turn 2, even though we don't have a lot of ways to protect it, and that makes me kind of nervous. So this turn, we can play Gaia's Cradle for the turn, float 4 mana like this. This is getting us blue, obviously, hit Cloud of Fairies. So now we used blue in this, so we have 2 green mana still floating. And we can tap for 3 now to play Cloudstone Curio. We still have 2 green mana floating. Let's use this and this to cast Diabolic Intent. Get a creature in our hand with 2 green mana floating. So we want to get a creature that we can cast for 2 green. That's probably going to be another mana dork. Yeah, it's Elves of Deep Shadow or Elvish Mystic. Let's just keep it easy. Oh, I cut Elvish Mystic. Haha, Lamau. Yeah, let's get Deathrite Shaman. So we get Deathrite Shaman into our hand and sacrifice D-Druid or Formidable Speaker. We haven't used his untap yet, so let's use the 1 green mana that we had floating here to cast that, bounce Cloud of Fairies, use the other green to tap you. No, we want to sacrifice Devoted Druid to our tutor. I'm getting so ahead of myself and I'm playing this so out of order. I'm so sorry, everybody. It makes sense in my head. So we sacked Devoted Druid to go get Deathrite Shaman. We used the 2 green mana that we had floating to play Deathrite Shaman. We're using the next one to use Formidable Speaker to untap Gaia's Cradle. And now I only have green mana and I'm stupid because I need a land that taps for blue. Okay, so in order to do the Cloud of Fairies loop, you need fucking any blue land. I got so excited and I forgot that Cloud of Fairies was blue. So we need to actually use him to untap Chrome Mox instead. And then on turn 3 or 4, we can do it. I don't know if that's fast enough. I think people interrupt us, but it is a win. Next turn, we can cast these two infinitely. No, we can't, because we need a blue land. That's slow as fucking bad, actually, because we didn't keep blue in our starting hand. This is a Simic deck. Have I told you that yet? I'm fumbling this because I'm a bad pilot. I'm sure a better pilot could do a much better job than what I'm doing here. But that was, like, honestly a really funny way to get locked. I'm not even upset about it. So this would be cool if we had land, but we don't. This is 2 mana, 3 mana on turn 1 to Wild Growth and Fairy Mastermind. And then we have Tainted Pact on our next turn. That might be good enough to keep. I'm so greedy with these. I have not learned that I need blue mana. Okay, so Bayou, tap Bayou to Wild Growth it so that it generates an extra green. Cast Lotus Petal, exile Elvish Spirit Guide for green. Sack this for blue. Fairy Mastermind out. It's pretty cool. Oh, we would need to cast the Lotus Petal on our turn, but the rest of that we could have done on an opponent's upkeep or something when not everybody is going to get priority. And then on our turn 2, we do have a blue land. So if people have been responsible and aren't feeding us cards with Fairy Mastermind, this is all we have on turn 2, but I think it's good enough. We could be really cocky, cast Growing Rights right now. I don't think that's going to happen. Play Otawara as a land. We have Flare of Denial in our hand in case we need to sacrifice our card draw to stop a win. And we can Tainted Pact on someone else's turn to get any piece that we need from our deck. So this is not the one where we have to name a card, right? I think I'm thinking of Demonic Consultation. Yeah, this is just we dig until we find something we like. So Mockingbird could be good. OBM feels pretty bad to throw away. We could play OBM and get it in our hand right away. We could get it in our hand. It doesn't let us cast it immediately, but we can cast it on our next turn, and then you're gone forever and you're gone forever. So on our turn 3, we're just kind of shocking ourselves here, casting Bowmaster. We're kind of just like waiting and being patient until other people try to go for a win, or we could keep OBM in hand, and we don't have Maralen mana right now. So yeah, I think that is honestly the best thing to do is swing at somebody with a flyer, pass the turn, and then flash in OBM when someone tries to draw a bunch of cards off of a Rhystic Study or something. We still have this piece of interaction so that we can like pick apart people's boards while doing other stuff. This is the point where I'm just casting Maralen to try and do something, but now we have enough creatures that it makes sense to cast Growing Rights, exiling 2 cards and getting that card advantage as well. This is a really passive way to run this. We aren't like running into a bunch of mana, but you can see that even in the worst case scenario, it still has a lot of tools to just get you card draw and free value and play defensively so that you can go for a win on like a turn 3 or 5, like mid-range decks like to do. And let's do one last one here. God, that feels good to play Mystic Remora on turn 1. This has most of the things that I would keep in a starting hand, and I just drew it up like this. I am prone to doing this in tournaments and then fucking myself over because I was like, oh, I needed to like get more fast mana or something like that. But honestly, yeah, our second 7 is really good. Too good to not keep. So here we go. We're being greedy. Okay, so we have Rejuvenating Springs, which we can just get Mystic Remora out there. That's always great. Let's assume that everyone only casts 1 spell per turn. Oh, that was the turn counter. Never mind. Pretend we're still on turn 2. So then we go into our turn 2 looking like this. We can get the One Ring out, or we can flash OBM out. Having Cloudstone Curio in our back pocket here is really good. Oh, we would have to do that to keep the fish, which means that Mana Vault into Cloudstone Curio is an option. I don't know. I really like having OBM, so maybe we let it die already. And my camera has been off for who knows how long. Sorry about that. I don't want to play Mana Vault just to cast the One Ring next turn. So I probably say that the One Ring is better card advantage than Mystic Remora at this point. Use this, cast Mana Vault, use this and Mana Vault, cast the One Ring, and then we are immune to being punched, and we can go like this, put a counter on it, draw a card, and then draw for our next turn. And on turn 3, we are not quite casting Ad Nauseam. But what we can do is go get Underground Sea. I think at this point I would try to Mockingbird a Mana Dork and then flash out Orcish Bowmaster. We are not anywhere near casting Maralen yet because we didn't use Mana Vault for that. It doesn't matter because these aren't going to be getting us any more cards than the One Ring will, obviously. I think we just tick up, draw 2 more cards, see what happens next turn. And this would be our actual turn 4. We get to untap everything except you. The last thing we don't have is Tropical Island. So this is Maralen mana or it's Ad Nauseam mana. We have been eating away at our life total, but not a ton. We played 2 fetches and we've lost 2 life to the One Ring. So we are still... Oh, and we've been pinged with Mana Vault for 3 turns. No, only 2 turns. So we're still at 35, 34. I can do math. So yeah, I think because we have Cloudstone Curio in hand and we have OBM here, we can Ad Nauseam until we get to Cloud of Fairies and hopefully Gaia's Cradle if it doesn't kill us. I usually like to Ad Naus for 15 first. So we got 3 here, 4, 5, 6. Gaia's Cradle, good. 8, 10, 11, 14, 16, 17, 19, 21. But that does get us a tutor so that we can get Cloud of Fairies at least. Yeah, we're at like 20-ish life. Let's do that after we've discarded. I'm stupid. Yeah, so we want to keep, we don't need you anymore. We want to keep Gaia's Cradle. We want to keep Vampiric Tutor, and we want to keep Cloudstone Curio. Born Upon the Wind, pretty hot also. Oh, Mox Amber we can play right now. That feels good. Don't have a legendary out yet. So we're winning on turn 5. All right, that feels mid-rangey. We were able to copy the best thing on board and OBM to hopefully grind our way to a win. From here, I can go over how we would win the game at this point. We get to play Gaia's Cradle as our land for turn. We wanted to Vamp Tutor last turn with our Mana Rock that we found to get Cloud of Fairies into our hand. So I will say that I remembered to do that. This mana right here, some green floating, but first float Cloudstone Curio mana. So I go like this. Cloud of Fairies pops Mockingbird to our hand. Untap these 2. We can tap these 2 again to cast Mockingbird, using 2 to copy Cloud of Fairies. Bounce Cloud of Fairies to our hand. And then we go back and forth like that until we have enough mana stored up that we can start tapping and untapping the rest of our lands as well. Cast Maralen at some point, protect it with a Flusterstorm and a Flare of Denial, sacrificing Orcish Bowmasters, and then casting Cloud of Fairies over and over again, exiles everybody's libraries so that we get to pass the turn and win. It's like a tally, but it's slower. My local meta is shifting away from turbo and into mid-range, so if your meta is doing the same thing, then this might be a good option for you. So I hope that you can do something similarly cool with Maralen. Thanks so much for watching. I would love to know whatever cool tech that I missed, because I'm the janky rat girl. I don't play competitively as much as I want to. Let me know if you'd like more of these videos, or if you are enjoying the usual jank. I will have another janky deck tech later in the month for you. Join my Patreon like all of these nice people on the screen did if you want another stream this month. I have been having a lot of fun painting on stream, and so if you want to see more of my artsy side, you want to see me work on a cool proxy that I have laying around here somewhere. Ooh, pretty, ooh. Then you should go to patreon.com/mtgratgirl. If you want the jokes, go to Tumblr, go to Blue Sky. My apps are on screen. And thank you so much for watching this video until the very end. Thank you so much for liking and supporting me. And I hope you have a beautiful evening. Bye-bye.